Hey guys, welcome back to Foundation Friday. Today I'm going to be using the cream foundation from Au Naturale. This is a stick foundation, and Au Naturale is both cruelty-free and vegan. I've been using this foundation for a long time now, several months, and I just, for whatever reason, hadn't done a Foundation Friday video yet, so it was about time. Long overdue, and a lot of you have been requesting a Foundation Friday on this foundation. So just like with all my other Foundation Friday videos, what I do is I apply this foundation to my face. I blend it out on half my face with the Beauty Blender and then the other half with the foundation brush, and then tell you which applied better on my skin. I do have combination skin that's definitely more on the dry side right now, which I think is good to note with foundations as well. So if you guys want to see how this foundation wears throughout the day, just keep watching. To prep my skin today, I'm going to be using Rose Tone from Caney Botanicals. This is a really nice rose water, and it does have a touch of vegetable glycerin in it, so that's really going to help prime my skin. And for foundation today, I'm going to be using the Au Naturale Stick Foundation. I'm going to be using the shade Merino on the majority of my face, but I do also want to go in with Mallorca a little bit. And what I really like to do with these stick foundations is kind of use them to contour at the same time, so that's why I like to use two different shades. Of course, you can just use one shade and you could go in with like a concealer or a regular contour after. I like doing this because I feel like it blends really well and it just looks very, very smooth and very even. So first I'm going to apply the light shade anywhere that I would want my foundation or any highlight. And one thing that I really like about this foundation formula is it warms up to your skin. So when you're first applying it, it might feel a little bit stiff depending on the temperature in your home or wherever you're applying it, but it really warms up to your skin and gets very smooth and buttery and creamy. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that darker shade where I would want to contour. And you'll notice I didn't choose a much darker shade, but it's just a little bit darker, and that'll just give a little more depth to my face. So with most Foundation Fridays, what I do is I use a Beauty Blender on one side of my face, and then I use a foundation brush on the other side. And typically I've been using the Beauty and the Base from MOTD, but today I'm going to be using the foundation brush from Au Naturale. I feel like if a brand makes brushes to go with their products, you're probably gonna get the best performance that way. So I thought it would be the best way to show you guys this. What I'm going to do is blend out my foundation on this half of my face using the damp Beauty Blender, and then on this half using the foundation brush. And you can see it did give a really nice finish to it. It has decent coverage. You can still see my skin through it, but it looks very smooth and very even. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the Au Naturale foundation brush on the other side. And now that both sides are blended out, I'm going to look at them a little more close-ups and see if I can tell a difference. So I feel like the side with the Beauty Blender does have a little bit more coverage, but I also feel like on that side, the foundation kind of settled into my pores a little bit more. And I think I prefer the finish with the foundation brush. I think it just looks smoother, even though there is slightly less coverage, just the overall finish looks better on my skin. This side too, I feel like it's clinging to a little bit of dry spots. It's already kind of sinking in. So I'm gonna go back over, I'm gonna apply just a little bit more product, and then I'm gonna go over my entire face with the foundation brush. And I think I'm just gonna touch up using the lightest shade because I don't really need anything else. Don't think I need much more contour, and I am going to be using bronzer as well. Okay, and that evened out really, really nicely. I think because this foundation is so smooth and creamy, it doesn't set right away, which is good. So if you have really dry skin, I honestly don't think you would even need to set this foundation with a powder, but if you want to, you have a little bit of time to work with it, and I really like that, especially if you're going to do something like I did where you use the foundation as a foundation, but also kind of as a base for highlight and contour as well. I really, really like this formula. And now I'm going to go in and apply the beige cream concealer underneath my eyes. I'm just gonna dab that on with my finger, and I'm gonna blend that out using the Conceal Your Secret brush from MOTD. And I have noticed with this concealer that it is very blendable, so a little bit really goes a long way. I think this is a product where definitely start with less is more. And then I do want to apply a little bit more of that to my highlight points, just a tiny bit. And this is also a really, really good concealer for sculpting out your brows. No matter what foundation you're using, this stuff has so much pigment to it, and it's so blendable and hydrating and creamy. and I find that it works really, really well for that. Okay, and now I'm going to set my powder products, and I will be using the finishing powder from Au Naturale, and I'm going to be using the Au Naturale powder brush for that today. This stuff is amazing. I use it all the time. It has just a touch of color to it, so it's not one where you're gonna have to worry about it changing the look of your makeup, but it really just like evens things out and smooths them out, and it's a great, great powder. I will say too, if you're someone that wants a little bit more coverage, this is a great powder to apply with like a flat top kabuki brush on top of your foundation, and it just gives you that extra bit of coverage. Again, it doesn't change the color of your foundation, but it just does so much to really smooth out your skin and make it look really soft and even. Okay, and now with that said, I'm going to go in with the Kissed bronzer from Au Naturale, and I'm going to apply that using the bronzing brush from Au Naturale, which is a flat top brush. So again, this is one you could use for the finishing powder too if you wanted that extra bit of coverage. You guys have seen me use this bronzer so many times, but it's one of my favorite bronzers. It's such a pretty color, and I feel like no matter how light my skin is, like how fair I get or how tan I am, this bronzer always works, and that's one thing I really, really like about it. So I think it's just a great bronzer that's going to work on so many people, and plus if you're really fair, it's also a really gorgeous eyeshadow. And for blush, I'm going to be using the powder brush in this shade Hawaiian Hibiscus. This is a really pretty, kind of rosy, plummy shade, and I thought it was fun. It's something a little bit different. I tend to reach for corals, and they do have some gorgeous corals. This one, Pink Champagne, it's really freaking pretty. So I'm just gonna go in with that on an MOTD brush. The thing that I love about Au Naturale is their powder products are so pigmented too. So definitely use a light hand at first if you haven't used them. And just really when it comes to pigment, they don't mess around. That's the thing is with Au Naturale, their quality is so good, and I really, really love their stuff. And now I'm going to go in with the Begonia powder highlighter, and I'm going to be using the Au Naturale fan brush and apply this. This is such a pretty highlight. You guys have no idea. And I really, really like their cream highlights. This is the only powder one that I have from them, but it's so nice and so pretty, and this brush is perfect. I feel like this brush is so fluffy that it distributes the highlight really well and just doesn't impact the rest of your makeup at all, which I really, really like. Since my face makeup is done, I wanted to do a check-in just to let you guys know how well it's wearing with everything else on top of it. Again, I did just apply the foundation, so this isn't like a wear test over time, but just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like now that it has powder and bronzer and blush and highlight on top of it. So I think it looks really, really nice. My skin looks very smooth. It looks very even, and it has like a touch of dewiness to it. It feels good. It's not feeling drying. It doesn't feel like I have a lot of product on my face. I think it looks really, really nice, and I've used this foundation for a long time. I do really like it. I don't know why I haven't done a foundation Friday with it sooner, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I will do another check-in. And now that I'm finished with the rest of my makeup, I'm going to do another check-in since it's been a little bit of time since I first applied the foundation. Honestly, I feel like the foundation's looking better and better. It's not oxidizing at all, and I think it just continues to look really, really smooth, especially with the powder. The Au Naturale powder I love because it just gives such an even finish, and those two combined, it's so gorgeous. So it's not settling in anywhere. It's not clinging to any of my dry spots. Again, I think because the foundation is so hydrating and nourishing, and it just looks really smooth and glowy. It's not an over-the-top glow. It's like a very natural, healthy glow and dewiness. So I'm going to do check-ins throughout the day, so stay tuned for my next check-in. It's been about 4.5 hours since I first applied the foundation, so I wanted to do a check-in. Also, I realized that this clock died last night, so I need to get batteries for that. I think the foundation looks really good still. It's not settling in anywhere. It's not settling into any pores or fine lines. It's not attaching to any dry spots. I think it still looks really, really even. And again, it still has that nice like luminosity to it. So I think it looks really good. I think it looks just as good now as it did right after I applied it. And I definitely can't say that for a lot of foundations that I do the Foundation Friday for. Right now, I literally don't have any complaints about this foundation and how it's wearing. There's nothing to point out. It looks the same as it did when I first applied it. So I will see how that goes throughout the day, and I'll be back for another check-in in a little while. It's now been 8.5 hours since I first applied the foundation, so I wanted to do another check-in. I do think it still looks really good. I'm kind of looking at a distance in a mirror, and I think that The coverage is still there. It still looks really even. I feel like you can still see all the other products that are on my face. So I'm happy with that, and I'm just gonna do a closer up look to just check out some of my problem areas. It is fading a little bit in coverage, but I was probably honestly touching my face. Like, let's be real, it's been 8.5 hours. Everywhere that I tend to have an issue with coverage, like my nose and my cheeks, it's not wearing off at all. I still don't feel like it's settling in anywhere. It's not attaching to any dry spots. Like, this foundation's continuing to look really good. I mean, I already knew I loved this stuff, but it's really helpful for me too to do these check-ins because I see like how it actually wears. I'm paying attention differently than I normally would. So I will probably do one more check-in today, and that will be it. It's now been 11.5 hours since I first applied the foundation, so this is going to be my final check-in today. I think it is still looking really nice. Take a look in my mirror. Yeah, it's still looking really good. There are some spots where it has faded a little bit more, but I feel like it does so in such a natural way that it's not obvious, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if you guys can see, like around here, it's kind of faded, but it really is just so natural that you wouldn't even notice. So I think that makes it a really good foundation for long-term wear too, because sometimes when foundations wear, you have like obvious patches, and this one doesn't do that. I do still think that there is still coverage in places that tend to be problematic for me, like the tip of my nose, stuff like that, like the oilier parts of my face. I'm not seeing any issues there. And again, it's like not settling in anywhere. I feel like you can't see any of my skin issues. So I already knew that I really liked this foundation, but doing this foundation Friday has kind of shown me like how well this works with my skin. Again, I do have combination skin that's on the dry side, so keep that in mind too. Everyone's skin is going to be a little bit different, but I think this is definitely a great stick foundation to try out and a great cream foundation to try out. Again, especially because they're cruelty-free, they're vegan, and they're just a really great team. Au Naturale is they're such a great company, and everyone who works there is so amazing and so sweet. I think if you've not tried this foundation and you're looking for a good natural foundation, this is definitely a great one to try. If you're interested in stick foundations, it's a great one to try. And I feel like it's worn extremely well over the almost 12 hours of today. So if you guys have used this foundation, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Just leave a comment down below. Let me know how you liked it. And if you haven't, let me know if you would pick it up. And I will see you guys in my next video.